on Facebook and X and TikTok and Radio Garden and your podcast of choice. We are live on all those platforms every single weekday, Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., bringing you Kenya's biggest conversation. For example, when we talk about biggest conversation, we also talk about the bigger things that happen in the country, big investments. An investment, for example, that over 10 years has netted over 500,000 subscribers to the Safaricom Home Fiber. And they say, because of that, things have changed. Because of the Safaricom Home Fiber, your children don't have to really think about it. How do I do my research for schoolwork? Because CBC now is telling us. Yes.
You have to go to a cyber cafe, for example. Yeah. Oh my goodness! Did you know that there was a thing called a cyber cafe?
Imagine. Now you just like. In fact, one of the things that we talk about nowadays about children coming to visit you, when your nephews and nieces come and visit you, the first thing they ask is, Atindu, what's your
Wi-Fi password?
Yep.
Exactly.
It's like that. And well, with over 40% market share, that tells you that it's likely going to be a Wi-Fi password for Safaricom Home Fiber router, because Safaricom is providing you with that service. Big thing.
Absolutely.
Big thing. Now, because of the kind of investment that they've made, Safaricom is actually now saying we are increasing the speeds on our home fiber connections, depending on your package. If you're in the bronze and you have been on this kind of speeds, we are increasing the speeds, and so on and so forth. We'll be telling you about the new speeds. All we tell you is, please, if you haven't subscribed to Safaricom Home Fiber, dial star what? No?
400 hash. Star 400 hash, then you can make a selection. What do you want? Do you want the bronze package? Do you want the silver package? Do you want the gold package? Do you want the platinum package? Do you want the diamond package? What is it that you want? What are your needs? Essentially, those needs will be met.
Yeah.
You will be connected. You can work, you can play, you can do whatever it is that you need to do that requires you to be on the internet.
Yep.
And also making it a lot more accessible for you. Like you said, Eric, Safaricom has made sure that the speeds have been increased to guarantee that you're never out. In the instance that you're out, and I just want to say that it was very interesting a couple of weeks ago where there was a bit of an issue, and I was like, okay, so what are we going to do now? Picked up the phone. Immediately, somebody said, you know what? There's a problem. We're working on it. We'll get back to you. Have you ever heard we'll get back to you? They never get back to you. But in this case, they did.
They actually do.
They get back to you, and everything gets back on track.
Sometimes, actually, even before you call, they send you a message. Dear customer, you're experiencing some internet challenges. Our team is working on it. And in the meantime, we are sending you data, your mobile phone, so you can use as we sort out this problem, right? So then your homestead can hotspot from your phone. Those are the things that we talk about. Now, if you're like Eric and you've been told your subscription is due, just renew your subscription, okay? And if you renew your subscription and send us a screenshot, we can sort you out, by the way. 3,000 bob in terms of airtime we'll send to you today. And you can use that either to upgrade your subscription or to pay for the next one or just to buy the all-in-one package, which we'll be telling you about. It's all about peace of mind. And that's what we do in this country with everything else that's going on. To clear bandwidth ya kudeal na hizi vitu zingine. Yeah. So for example, let's talk about wealth creation. And wealth creation is, it's a cliche, wealth creation. Even Anyang' Nyong'o came up with a policy for the country called the Blueprint for Poverty Eradication and Wealth Creation, okay, with Kibaki. Wealth creation, what is it all about? We have invited Christian Murege, who is the head of asset management at Stanbic Bank Kenya, to teach us more about it. Christian, good morning.
Good morning, Latif.
How you doing?
I'm keeping well. Yourself?
I'm keeping well as well.
Great.
Yeah, but with more money, I'd be much better.
And that's why we're here today.
If I sat back and I knew that, for example, I'm worth 5 billion shillings, I can buy a couple of hotels here and there, I'd be happier. But karibu sana.
Thank you.
City will welcome you with the day's proverb. City, the proverbs this week are from?
Proverbs this week are from the Republic of the Gambia. Okay? He who sleeps on a borrowed mat is sleeping on a cold, very cold ground.
He who sleeps on a borrowed mat is sleeping on a very cold ground.
Yes.
What's the interpretation of this one, Mr. Murege?
I think this is very linked to what we're going to speak here today. I think it means you should not live on borrowed resources. Try to create your own resources. That's the top of mind that comes to it.
Makes sense. Ndu? Does it resonate?
It does.
Build your own. Create your own.
Create your own.
Grow your own. Okay. When you talk about investing for growth, again, people just be like, investing for growth. Yeah, where else am I investing? Okay, surely. Define those two terms, investing and growth, and why they come together.
Very well. So investing is basically putting into action your surplus. So ideally, we get an income, we spend it. If you spend more than you earn, you will be, in the proverb, borrowing from someone else. So we want to encourage people to be basically savers, to have a surplus. Once you have the surplus, you can deploy it into a saving, into an investment. Now, the function of whether it's going to be a growth investment or not is a function of time in the market, a function of how long you're persevering into that, and a function of discipline. So there are no shortcuts on that. Unfortunately, we want to have growth today on the first day of job without even putting time in. So I think that's what we're here to discuss and unpack today.
Are you saying that not all investments end up in growth?
Not all of them, okay? And I think it's good to find that investments sometimes do go down because economic cycles change, fundamentals change. We remember the Kodak moment, okay?
Yeah.
Many companies are going through that right now with the kind of disruptions we are seeing globally. So not all investments, as well planned as they were, do pan out. But that's why we say your planning journey, your investment journey should focus on diversification. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's what we're going to discuss along this investment growth journey.
I'm sure we will ask you about the baskets.
Exactly.
How many baskets are out there, and how do you identify the ones that are good?
And how do you know where to put eggs in?
So
What do you
everybody...
mean? Where do you get the eggs for everything? And where do you get the baskets? I mean, they're all these fundamental questions.
So first, once you've
So
got
it's a basket and egg situation.
Yes.
Or which one comes first, the basket or
Which
the
comes-
eggs?
Yes, very good. So I think, or rather the hen, which one comes before? So I think first you get to get the eggs, which is your surplus, okay? You have to have the financial discipline to live within your means, okay? And that way you're able to save something extra. That extra is what we call it the surplus. Now, how do you deploy it? And I'll be showing you how one of the easiest steps to start with is a money market fund. It's very basic. I can say it's the elementary level of investments, because you're hiring a professional fund manager to manage your money, however little it is. And we want to clarify here, there's no little amount of saving. So for our Stanbic Money Market Fund, we start as low as 1,000 shillings. And for the fixed income fund, which is a US dollar fund, as low as $100. We are the lowest in the market, I believe, okay? So for $100, you're exposed to dollar-denominated assets. We know the impact, the depreciation of the shilling had the last 2 years. It's still alive to us. We came very close until February this year, and we dodged that bullet. But does that mean we're out of the woods? Not necessarily, because we still don't have a budget for 2024, which was rescinded, and definitely there are more obligations to settle. That said and done, how do we diversify? So one way to diversify as an entry-level money market fund, you put your 1,000 shillings with us, you get a plethora of investments, from fixed deposits to call deposits to treasury bills, treasury bonds if you want. But ideally, we don't put treasury bonds in money market funds per se. Those would be in a fixed income fund in the pure sense of a money market fund. It should be short term, below maybe 6 months at most, okay? So anything above 1 year in investments, that would be a fixed income fund. And we give you the whole package, the whole suite. So don't just put your money all in one bank. Bank can go down. So in a money market fund, you've got a bit of T-bills, you've got a bit of deposits with various banks, and that diversifies your portfolio. And that comes to the nuance of saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
So you're saying the money market fund is like the elementary level of investing for growth. It's like the pink piggy bank. It's the one for kiddies. You just look at it and you just put the money here, and there's the basics you can understand. Put money and you can get the money out.
Absolutely.
Okay. But explain, how does a money market fund work?
So a money market fund is part of what we call a collective investment scheme. These are regulated products by the Capital Markets Authority, and I can confirm that our Stanbic unit trusts are regulated and licensed by the Capital Markets Authority, highly regulated. There are principles on how this should be managed, and we apply those principles. And internally, we have an investment philosophy where our underpinning theory should be, we need to preserve capital, okay? Just to point out what you said earlier, some investments do go south, but ours, we are saying, come rain, come shine, we want to preserve capital. Then from there, we can tackle at least a decent return that's above inflation, and that way we protect wealth. Remember, inflation is the enemy, okay? In any situation. If you had money and just put it under the mattress, next year, that same bunch of money might not buy the same goods because of inflation. And that's just the way the capitalist system is wired, and maybe even the agrarian system, because goods do go up, okay? Seasons, cyclicalities do change production, and prices of commodities go up. So how do you defend yourself to be able, at a bare minimum, afford the same cluster of goods that you're affording this year without having to dig deeper into your savings? So investing is one sure way to beat inflation, and a money market fund for ideal and entry-level investors, also nuanced investors who want to get an income that they can live off, can also use this product. It's very versatile. That's what I can use. It's a linchpin to other investment areas like equities, or to offshore investments, or even to buying a home. You can actually start saving through a money market fund. So that should actually set the tone on that.
You talk about, I think one of the first things that you said was take what you have in terms of a surplus, no matter how much it is.
Okay.
So is that saying that you can only invest when you do have a surplus?
Absolutely.
You should only invest if you have a surplus?
Not really. We have situations where you can borrow. It's called leverage, okay? And this we find it more in the area of equities, shares, commodities, where you have maybe a shilling and you borrow another 10 shillings. So you leverage your position, and that's speculation now, okay? Because the challenge and the benefit of leverage, it can amplify your profits, and on the flip side, it can double or even magnify your losses by the same amount you leverage, because when you borrow, you must pay what? You must pay interest,
Yep.
and the principal, okay? So ideally, it should be best you have something of your own, okay? Just like we say, when you take a mortgage, you should have at least your own 20% and borrow the 80%. If you borrow the whole 100% of what we're seeing, banks giving 105, it's good enough when you're getting in, but it becomes a challenge when you have to start servicing it, because you're borrowing more than the value of your collateral. So ideally, have something of your own, then leverage the balance.
Let me ask this question. When you talk about saving, you talk about investment, as Stanbic, I am one of your clients, by the way, just so that you know.
Thank you, Charles.
Yes. What is the policy that you have on ensuring that this message gets to people when A, they haven't actually started earning, B, they haven't actually started getting responsibilities, so that they actually get into the habit of A, putting money aside, and so the issue of investment becomes a lot easier. Because once they get into a cycle where they now have a fixed way in which they go about managing their funds, it then becomes a little difficult to engage the reverse gear.
Absolutely, absolutely. How we tackle this, Stanbic Bank is part of the Standard Bank Group. That's the biggest banking group in Africa. I don't know if you knew that, and we're part of it. One of our pillars is to drive sustainable growth, okay? And under that pillar, in Kenya and actually across Africa, we have a mechanism, a channel called Financial Fitness Academy. Now, that Financial Fitness Academy is a training platform. We engage individuals, we engage SMEs, we engage groups, and train them on how fast to plan how their money is spent. Number two, how to budget. There's a 50-30-20 rule. I'll speak about it a bit later. And definitely how to invest, how to start, how to manage your debt, how to get involved in creating wealth, the journey. And that academy is free. We don't charge for it. And so far, in the year 2024, we've impacted over 5,500 learners or trained people who now we do believe are in a better position to manage their money. So to start with, we've been doing this with universities, okay, from year 1 to year 4 as they finish, so that by the time they get their first paycheck, they are very alive to how they will manage that money, okay? not just the sherehe and what have you, but they know they now start planning for their retirement on the first day that they actually get employed. We're now cascading that to high schools and maybe even younger kids from 10. We have packages for various ages just to inculcate the discipline of saving. One of the challenges we have as a country, we have a very low gross savings rate to GDP. I think it's about 10.7, just under 11%. Globally, more developed countries are running almost close to 30, between 26 and 30%. That way, a country is able to invest in its own development without having to rely on borrowed capital. So I think we need to have that discussion, and I know the national government is very alive to that fact, to inculcate the financial literacy program. There's something I think being worked with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development as a government front, and we want to partner with like-minded institutions to inculcate this culture, all the way starting from our CBC learners now, so that by the time in 20 years they are earning their first income, they know exactly what to do on day one. Invest in a money market fund if you have no other idea of where to spend your money.
What does your money do when it gets into this fund?
So what happens when the money comes, as I said, a collective investment scheme, as the name suggests, is collective. You can think of it as a charmer. So all of us who want a money market fund, which is the elementary basic entry level of investments, low risk, not no risk, low risk, because I did say all investments can go down, okay? Institutions go down. Haven't you seen that? So we say low risk because they ideally invest in shorter dated instruments. So we get 1,000 customers, 2,000 customers, everybody putting in money today, some taking out tomorrow, new people joining it. It's what we call an open-ended collective investment scheme. Once that is put into place, there's a document called an investment policy statement. It's a guiding principle. It's our North Star. So that document says where we can invest, up to what limit, and what kind of risk we can accept for the best risk-adjusted return. So we do that, and the investors who have contributed from their 1,000 shillings, we have a customer bringing 5 million and 10 million, all of you are called unit holders. For every shilling that you put into that pot, you get 1 unit of that money market fund, okay? And it's distributed that way. That money return is invested by a professional manager, and that's how we come in, myself and my team. We do go there, we've done research, we see which risk we can accept for the given level of return. And then every day, a return is generated and credited to our unit holders' accounts daily. Okay. So last night, if you had joined our money market fund, Latif, and I hope I'll get your account today, by the time you get tomorrow, you'll have earned interest. How does that work now? At the end of the month, we credit Latif's account, we credit Ndu's account with the income that has been earned. Now, here is the magic. If you do not take out your interest, that becomes the opening balance for the following month plus your original principal. Now you start earning interest on your interest and principal, and that's the power of compounding. So that's how we create wealth and how you grow your wealth. The power of compounding is a magic formula, and that's what we want to encourage people to understand it.
For example, how do you report your interests? So what do you say, like 13% per annum, 12% per annum? Is that what you say, or do you say interest per day?
So the interest is annualized,
right?
So you can compare apples for apples. So if someone is saying he'll give you 10% per annum, we have to give an equivalent return. So it's annualized. So there's a mathematical formula that gives the equivalent of how it would have been per annum.
Give us an example of the current money market fund, for example, for Stanbic, and the interest per annum.
Very well. So currently, our interest rates for annualized rates are about 14.48%. We sit right around the middle of the pack. And as I said, we're a pure money market fund. No shenanigans. We have short-term instruments. Our average maturity period of our portfolio is slightly under 3 months, okay? So if I said we want to close shop today, all my money should have come back without doing anything in 3 months, okay? The weighted average maturity, okay? The regulator allows us up to 18 months. But in essence, we've taken as a house, because we have a global reach, we have to apply group standards across all our markets. We do take about maximum 4 months, depending on the markets that they are allowed, okay? So our competitors might be a bit higher than that. Therefore, they might have a higher, maybe kind of return at the top. But ideally, markets do change and they're fickle. And if you know the last 2 years, what has happened on interest rates, on treasury bonds and bills. So if you're invested in those instruments in a money market fund for the last 2 years, you've really gotten a a beating.
Like a win-
okay.
yeah.
It's exactly a beating because there's something called interest rate risk. When a similar instrument that you bought 2 years ago earning 10%, and now the new one is earning 15%,
15%,
which one would you prefer for the same
Well,
maturity? The one which is okay.
Yeah.
So almost all portfolios, and that's across the board. If you look at even the banking results for last year, when they compare year on year, you'll see something called revaluation losses on those bond portfolios. So that also trickles down if you have put those kind of instruments in a money market fund, you can imagine. And the basic tenet of a money market fund, a shilling should be equal to a unit. We call it not breaking the bank.
Okay.
So your shilling you brought should still come out at the very worst, okay? And I do believe investors out there, as much as we chase return, I think you have seen many of them. You give someone to double your money and it gets lost. They don't care about the interest they forwent. What do they want?
The money
principal,
back.
The amount back, even if it's 1 year.
I gave you 1,000 bob.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So people are not really, when things go bad, I just want my principal. And that's our ethos. We want to protect the principal and give you a decent return above inflation.
So based on that, so the 14%, for example, the
Yeah.
money market fund for Stanbic is at 14%.
14.48.
14.48.
Yes.
When you credit my account on a daily basis, how do you calculate that?
So that 14.48 will be divided by 365 days, and that portion is put into your account. So by the time we come at the end of the month, you'll have 14.48 divided by 12
I see.
to get to 1 month.
Okay. So if I withdraw my money before the end of the year,
Okay.
I'll have earned the 14.4 divided by the number of months.
365 days by the number of days you've been in the game.
So the longer I stay, the better for me.
The more time you spend in the market, the better. And I did say it's a very versatile product. It could be you can open for your kid. You can open, if you're a retiree, you can use it even for retirement income. 14% is a decent income. So you have some 5 million somewhere, as opposed to keeping it maybe, for example, what we have seen, a very big trajectory towards government bonds and T-bills. Remember, those ones you have to sell. But for a money market fund, the moment you face a challenge and you need to liquidate your investment, within 48 hours, we have paid you. For a bond, you must look for a stockbroker out there to start telling you they'll get your buyer. It might take long, especially if you're what we call odd lots. Ideally, markets trade instruments of 100 million. That's the minimum ticket size to sell a bond. And you'll see a lot of activity will be between fund managers, banks and insurance. But a retail investor with a 50,000 shillings to put the same order, it might take 2 weeks. But why don't you get the same similar return in a money market fund and your cash in 2 days? It makes that sense. It's very liquid, very low risk, and low entry level.
Is there a minimum tenure within which you must hold the fund?
Absolutely none.
Okay.
Okay.
So then, based on that, there's no penalty for cashing out.
There is no penalty for cashing out, and that's the allure of these instruments. Okay, 1,000 shillings I've gotten. Monday I have a challenge. I can request it. I'll have earned my 3 days interest. It won't be frame breaking, but it will be there. Whatever it was,
At least
and
your
it's
1,000
money.
will be there.
It will be there.
All
Plus
right.
and then at the end of the month, you will see your statement, and the interest for the number of days that you have held will be there.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you observe and see the number of people, for example, who have current accounts with Stanbic and they're keeping money there? And of course, then they're thinking the money is staying in the bank. It's safe. I'm not using it. I'm going to use it later. But they're putting it in that current account. Would you advise such a person to move it into a money market fund?
So, money market fund is just one of the instruments that you've got to have, okay? You can have a savings as deposit, you can have a T-bill in CBK and the DAO system, and you can have a current account. The reason people have current accounts, and most importantly, will be to make their mainly their check obligations. I don't know if people still write checks, but those are the purposes for current accounts.
Yes, we do.
We still write. Thank you, Charles.
There was a story yesterday that actually the number of checks written has drastically dropped.
Yes, because of online banking, you can wire instantly, and there's special link and not a view. So current accounts have their purpose, okay? And I want to believe our customers are enlightened. They know about our products.
No. Seriously.
Yes.
Somebody who, yes, they have all these obligations and they
Correct.
want to keep doing it, but they've kept this money in a current account for 60 days. Is that advisable?
Is it advisable?
Yes.
That is not a very wise financial decision because it could be earning something.
You could be putting it somewhere else.
Correct.
It could be earning something better because a savings account also earns you money.
But a current earns you none.
Current
Or
account.
their interest earning current accounts.
Yes, sir. That's not the practice. They're meant to be 0%. Yeah. It's free money usually.
It's usually just cash there.
Just cash which the bank can play with it overnight. lending.
28 minutes to 9. Let's take a break. We're speaking with Christian Murege. He's the head of asset management at Stanbic Bank Kenya. Stanbic Bank is part of the Standard Bank Group, which is the largest in Africa. They have money and they can help us grow our money. Investing for growth, that's what we are talking about. The key considerations when we come back from this break. Christian, you'll tell us about that 50-30-20 rule and why it's important. Okay? Keep it here for that. All in One by Safaricom. It's something that Safaricom has actually done for a number of months now, and they've seen it's benefiting people. Peace of mind. You go and subscribe to one all-in-one package. You get call, you get SMS, you get data, you get free WhatsApp.
Indeed, you do.
How do you subscribe?
*544# and then you pick the Go Monthly tab. Under that, you'll find all-in-one, and then you can pick from which bouquet you want to go with, right? 500, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, depending on what your needs are. What you do is that you're buying freedom, and you never get into a spot where you need to pick up the phone and call, and you'll be cut off, or you send a message and it will not go, or you need to find out, who's streaming what movie, and you will not be able to watch it. So it buys you freedom. Get through the month in your communication with the all-in-one package from Safaricom.
This is the Situation Room.